Have you ever felt like your mind is working against you, sabotaging your focus, your peace, your potential without you even realizing it? You try to stay calm, to stay in control, but there's this storm inside. Overthinking, doubt, emotional noise that never stops. It pulls you into anxiety, drags you back into old patterns, and leaves you wondering why you keep breaking your own promises. It feels like no matter how hard you try to think positive or stay disciplined, something inside you always slips. And deep down, you know it's not about laziness. It's something deeper, something hardwired. Most people are living in mental survival mode. Their thoughts are not tools, they're traps. Their emotions are not signals, they're chains. You've been taught to trust your feelings, to follow your heart, to just be yourself. But what if those beliefs are the very reason you stay stuck? What if your mind has been programmed by fear, by weakness, by noise, and it's time to rip that script out and install a new one? One built on clarity, power, and control. One designed to thrive in the real world, not just survive in your head. There's a different way to think, a different way to move, a way of thinking that's not emotional chaos, but emotional discipline. A mindset forged through intentional rewiring, not born from optimism, but from strategy. Not built on fake confidence, but on unshakable inner control. This is the mindset of those who win, not by chance, not by luck, but by design. It's time to become someone who doesn't just react to life, but designs it. And to do that, you must rewire your brain like a Machiavellian, not to become heartless, but to become untouchable. This isn't about being manipulative. It's about becoming immune. Immune to chaos, immune to fear, immune to the triggers that used to own you. It's about building a brain that can't be broken, no matter what happens around you. A mind that doesn't panic, doesn't chase, doesn't beg. It observes, it calculates, it acts. This is what gives you the edge in a world that's constantly trying to pull you back into weakness. When you think like this, you don't waste time explaining yourself. You don't seek approval. You don't overreact. You execute. You adapt. You win. You're going to learn how to do that, step by step, with practical changes you can apply to your life immediately. This isn't theory. This is transformation. Each step will strip away the noise, the fear, the self-sabotage, and replace it with control, clarity, and power. By the end of this, you won't just think differently. You'll feel untouchable, focused, sharp. You'll trust yourself again. Not because someone told you to, but because you rebuilt yourself from the inside out. So if you're tired of being ruled by thoughts that don't serve you, if you're done playing small inside your own head, stay with this. Because the most powerful version of you is waiting to be reprogrammed. And it starts now. If you want to rewire your brain for power, the first thing you must master is emotional control. Not the fake kind, where you pretend everything's fine while chaos brews beneath the surface. Real control. The kind that lets you feel deeply, but choose deliberately. Right now, most people make decisions based on emotion and justify them later with logic. They act out of anger, jealousy, insecurity, and only after the damage is done do they try to make sense of it. But those who rise, those who command respect and influence, operate differently. So they don't let emotions drive the wheel. They observe them, they dissect them, and then they act with precision. Your emotions are not enemies, but they are not leaders either. They are data, signals, feedback. That's all. When you treat them as commands, they will destroy you. But when you treat them as information, they become tools. Tools you can use to build a stronger mind, not just a louder one. And here's the truth. The moment you stop reacting to your emotions and start responding to reality, your entire life begins to shift. Your energy changes. Your results change. Because your decisions are no longer driven by fear or impulse. They're guided by intention. That kind of thinking takes work. It takes discipline. You need to create space between what you feel and what you do. That space is your power. It's where you take a breath, process what's happening, and choose your next move with clarity instead of chaos. Most people don't even realize they have that space. They're so used to reacting instantly that they never question whether their reaction serves them. But the second you start using that space, you become dangerous in the best way, because now you're thinking 2 steps ahead. Now you're acting with strategy, not emotion. It's not about being cold. It's about being in control. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't lash out, you calculate. When fear creeps in, you don't freeze, you analyze. When doubt whispers lies, you don't listen, you execute. This is what separates those who lead from those who follow. Emotional discipline isn't natural, it's trained, rewired, repeated. And every time you pause before you speak, every time you choose focus over reaction, you are teaching your brain a new way to operate. This is the beginning of mental freedom, the moment when your feelings no longer define you. When you can sit with anger without being consumed by it. When you can feel anxiety and still move forward. When you can hear criticism and stay centered. That's what rewiring looks like. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, it's quiet power, and it builds slowly but permanently. You're not trying to become someone else. You're becoming who you were meant to be before fear, before noise, before doubt. And the foundation of that transformation is simple. Never let emotions make decisions for you. Let them inform you, but you stay in control, always. The need for approval is one of the most invisible chains on your mind. It hides behind your smile, your silence, your hesitation. You think you're being polite, respectful, agreeable. But what you're really doing is asking for permission to exist. You're scanning faces for signs of acceptance, tailoring your truth to fit into someone else's comfort zone. And every time you do that, you lose a piece of your power. Every time you silence your instincts to avoid judgment, you shrink. You compromise not because it's wise, but because you're afraid. Afraid of disapproval, afraid of being disliked, afraid of being seen as too much or not enough. But here's the brutal truth. The more you seek approval, the more control you give away. You hand over your emotions, your voice, your direction to people who don't have to live with the consequences of your choices. And for what? A nod? A smile? A like? Approval is a drug, and the world is your dealer. The more you chase it, the weaker you become. Because it rewires your brain to depend on others for permission to feel worthy. You'll twist yourself into shapes you were never meant to fit, just to avoid rejection that doesn't even matter in the long run. That's how they control you. Through praise, through criticism, through silence. Every look, every word, every gesture becomes a signal you interpret as proof of your worth or your failure, and it doesn't stop. Because the second you get one person's approval, you start chasing the next. It becomes a loop, a mental prison. One that looks polite on the outside, but inside it's suffocating you. And you can't build a powerful life if you're always looking over your shoulder, wondering what they think of you. The solution is radical. You must stop needing it. You must stop basing your actions on whether they'll like you, accept you, validate you. You must break the addiction by standing in your truth. Especially when it's inconvenient, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's how you build the kind of mind that can't be moved. Not by praise, not by judgment, not by the shifting winds of other people's opinions. You stop living for them, and you start living for what you know is right. There's power in being misunderstood. There's freedom in not being liked. There is strength in choosing your path, even when it threatens to make others uncomfortable. Because once you let go of the need for approval, you become untouchable. You act not for attention, but for impact. You speak not to impress, but to lead. You stop reacting to noise and start commanding your space. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. You are not here to be liked, you are here to become. And nothing will slow your evolution more than waiting for someone else to sign off on it. Tear up the invisible contracts, burn the masks, and walk forward without asking for permission. Because you never needed it. Once you stop seeking approval, you gain something far more valuable, clarity. You begin to see people for what they are, not what you need them to be. And with that clarity comes the most powerful advantage of all, the ability to predict. Human behavior may seem chaotic on the surface, but it follows patterns. Emotions repeat, triggers echo. People reveal themselves not through their words, but through the way they respond to pressure, power, and pain. When you train your mind to observe instead of absorb, you unlock a hidden layer of reality. One where nothing people do surprises you because you've already seen the pattern before it plays out. The average person moves through life reacting to others, constantly caught off guard, constantly confused. But confusion is a symptom of ignorance. When you don't understand the mechanics of human behavior, you will always be blindsided. But when you study people, not just what they say, but how they move, where they pause, what they avoid, you begin to read them like a map, a predictable patterned map. And once someone becomes predictable, they lose their power over you. They can't manipulate you because you see it coming. They can't bait you because you already know their triggers. They can't shake your confidence because their tactics are no longer invisible. Power comes to those who pay attention. Every emotional outburst, every subtle shift in tone, every hesitation, it all means something. Most ignore it, but when you learn to recognize the code beneath the behavior, you become 10 steps ahead. You know what motivates them, what scares them, what they're trying to hide. And this isn't about control through force. It's about mastering the terrain. You can't win in a world you don't understand. You can't protect yourself from people you refuse to read. Stop assuming. Start observing. Start observing. The truth is, most people expose themselves constantly. Insecurity dressed as arrogance, weakness dressed as charm, fear hidden behind humor. It's all there in plain sight, but only for the mind trained to see. And the only way to train that mind is through silence, patience, and ruthless honesty. You can't read others if you're still projecting your own emotions onto them. You must become the calm in the storm, still enough to notice, sharp enough to connect the dots. Disciplined enough not to react even when you see exactly what's happening. This is where your transformation deepens. When you no longer just control your emotions, you control how others affect them. You stop getting blindsided by betrayal, manipulation, or lies. Because you've stopped living in illusion. And once you stop expecting people to be better than they are, you stop getting hurt when they're not. That's not cynicism. That's preparation. That's power. You don't need to control others to stay safe. You only need to understand them. See clearly, move wisely, and always remember, when you know their pattern, you protect your peace. Once you can see people clearly, the next step is learning how not to be moved by them. Praise and insult are just different chains, forged from the same need, the need to be seen a certain way. But when your identity depends on how others treat you, you will always be fragile. One harsh word shatters your confidence. One compliment inflates your ego. You become easy to trigger, easy to distract, easy to control. But when you rewire your mind to detach from both extremes, you become something else entirely: stable, focused, and untouchable. Most people are chasing validation while running from criticism, unaware that both come from the same source, external opinion. But external opinion is not truth. It's perspective, often distorted, often projected. People praise you for what serves them. People insult you when they feel threatened. Neither has anything to do with who you really are. And yet, if you internalize it, you become a puppet dancing to the highs of applause, shrinking in the face of disapproval. The result is a life built on emotional noise, a mind that can be shaken by a whisper. Detachment isn't about ignoring the world. It's about no longer needing its approval to stay centered. It's the ability to receive praise without ego, to hear insult without pain, and to stay locked into your purpose regardless of external noise. This is not apathy. This is power. Because when you detach from outcome, you become obsessed with process. When you detach from reputation, you focus on integrity. When you detach from flattery, you move with truth. No one can sway a person who no longer reacts. No one can disrupt someone who no longer depends. It starts by rewiring the way you process feedback, not as identity, but as information. Is it useful? Then apply it. Is it noise? Then discard it. You don't fight it. You don't internalize it. You filter it through purpose. And purpose doesn't flinch. It doesn't rise with praise or fall with insult. It moves, steady, relentless, clear. You have to decide what matters more, being liked or being effective, being comfortable or being powerful. Because the two rarely coexist. The world will test you. It will lift you up, then try to tear you down. It will admire you, then envy you. It will cheer for you one day and question you the next. But if your sense of self is anchored internally, none of it touches you. You're no longer chasing approval or running from rejection. You're walking your path with or without applause. And that's where real confidence lives. Not in being praised, but in not needing it. Not in avoiding insult, but in being unaffected by it. When you no longer rise and fall with opinion, you become grounded, calm, focused. And when your mind can't be moved by the world, you finally have the freedom to move the world instead. Fear is not the enemy. It's the compass. It points directly at the things you need to face, the places you need to grow, the edges of the life you haven't claimed yet. But most people don't see fear that way. They see it as a warning, a reason to stop, a sign that something is wrong. So they pull back, they delay, they avoid. And every time they do, the fear gets louder, stronger, more convincing. It starts controlling decisions, rewriting goals, stealing momentum. You begin negotiating with it, building your life around its comfort instead of your calling. But fear only has power when you run from it. When you move toward it, when you lean in, it starts to unravel. You begin to see that it was never the thing itself that held you back, but your reaction to it. Fear thrives in avoidance. It feeds on hesitation. But the second you face it, the second you step into it, it begins to lose shape. And that's the shift, training your mind to reframe fear, not as a signal to stop, but as proof you're on the edge of something important. Because comfort never made anyone strong. Discomfort is the forge. To rewire your brain, you have to change your relationship with fear. It doesn't go away. It transforms. You begin by recognizing it, not resisting it. Label it, understand it, sit with it long enough to see what it's really protecting. Usually it's not danger, it's identity. It's the fear of failure, of embarrassment, of not being enough. But those fears are illusions, narratives built in moments of weakness and kept alive through repetition. You break them by acting in direct opposition to them. You don't wait to feel ready. You move anyway. You don't argue with fear. You replace it with action. This isn't about reckless courage. It's calculated exposure. You face the things that control you, one step at a time. You practice discomfort until it becomes familiar. Until fear shows up and your first instinct isn't to retreat, but to breathe, to assess, to act. The more you do this, the more your brain rewires. It begins to associate fear with focus, with opportunity, with expansion. Not panic, not paralysis. You are not trying to eliminate fear. You are becoming immune to its grip. Because once fear no longer stops you, nothing can. You become dangerous, not to others, but to your own limits. You walk toward the things that used to make you freeze. You speak the words you used to swallow. You take the risks that once felt impossible. And through that process, you unlock a level of self-trust that no external force can break. Fear becomes your training ground, your testing place, and eventually your weapon. Not something that cages you, but something that sharpens you. Every time it shows up, it reminds you you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Growing, expanding, becoming bulletproof. If fear sharpens you, discipline builds you. Not the surface level discipline of checking boxes or following routines, but the deeper kind. The kind that rewires your instincts, the kind that makes you choose purpose over pleasure, clarity over comfort, power over ease. Most people are not destroyed by failure. They are destroyed by distraction. The endless craving for stimulation, the addiction to quick hits of dopamine, the need to feel good now. They reach for the phone instead of their goals. They chase comfort and wonder why they feel empty. But comfort isn't peace. It's decay disguised as relief. And the longer you stay in it, the more your mind softens, weakens, forgets what it was built to do. To rewire your brain, you must take control of what it craves. You must reset the baseline. Train it to seek challenge, to crave depth, to find reward not in the easy win, but in the disciplined pursuit. Every time you delay gratification, you build power. Every time you choose the long road, the hard task, the quiet focus, you send your brain a message. I lead, not impulse, not habit. You train your system to follow your will, and over time, that wool becomes unbreakable. This is where real transformation begins, when you stop chasing what feels good and start chasing what makes you great. When you strip away the noise, the distractions, the temporary highs, and get addicted to progress. Not results, progress. The act of moving forward inch by inch, without applause, without motivation, without needing it to feel good. Because eventually, it does. Eventually, the very things that used to feel heavy become automatic. The cold showers, the early mornings, the workouts, the studying, the planning, the execution, these become your new baseline. Not because you forced them, but because you trained your mind to find value in them. That's how you dominate, not by doing more, but by doing what matters consistently without emotional permission. You stop asking how you feel. You start deciding who you are, and who you are is built in those quiet, difficult choices that no one sees but you. That's discipline. It's not a skill. It's a character. It's a rewired nervous system that knows how to say no to now so you can say yes to everything later. This isn't punishment. This is power. This is you breaking free from the mental chains that kept you comfortable but small. This is you becoming dangerous to your former self, the one who waited, the one who quit, the one who justified everything with a maybe tomorrow. Discipline erases that version of you. It creates a new one, a sharper one, a focused one. And once your brain is trained to move toward effort instead of away from it, nothing can stop you. Not laziness, not doubt, not fear, because you've built a mind that chooses power every day, no matter what. When discipline becomes your default, your mind no longer bends to weakness. It answers to purpose. But purpose means nothing if your mind fractures under pressure. You can be skilled, you can be focused, but if your thoughts collapse the moment something doesn't go as planned, you are still fragile. Strength isn't measured by how well you perform when things are easy. It's measured by how stable you remain when everything breaks, when the pressure builds, when the silence grows loud, and the outcomes remain uncertain. A bulletproof mind doesn't need perfect conditions. It thrives in chaos. Because it has been built, not inherited. The truth is, your mental toughness is not decided by your past or your personality. It's built by what you tolerate internally. If you constantly allow doubt to speak, it will. If you feed fear, it will grow. If you let emotions decide your limits, they will shrink your world to fit their comfort. But the moment you stop negotiating with weakness, you create a new standard inside yourself. One where strength isn't a performance. It's a default. You no longer break under pressure because your mind has rehearsed the storm. It's been trained to endure, to adapt, to respond without panic. To get there, you must begin treating your thoughts the same way you treat your actions, with discipline. You don't entertain every fear. You don't chase every distraction. You don't give your attention away to thoughts that sabotage your focus. You become ruthless with your internal world, and not in a way that's cold or robotic, but in a way that protects your progress, your peace, your power. Because when your mind is undisciplined, you will always be unstable. But when your mind is forged through intentional pressure, nothing can move you. You need to reprogram how you process setbacks. You stop interpreting failure as a personal attack and start seeing it as feedback. You don't spiral. You analyze, you adjust, you move. The world will throw chaos at you. People will disappoint you. Plans will break, but none of that defines you. Your response does. And the person who keeps their mind calm under fire, who doesn't drown in emotion or get seduced by excuses, that person becomes unstoppable. Because while others fall apart, you remain composed. And that composure is rare. That composure commands respect. That composure creates results. A bulletproof mind doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to prove anything. It's not built on arrogance. It's built on inner certainty. Quiet, solid, untouchable. You don't fear pain. You've trained with it. You don't run from struggle. You walk through it. Because you know who you are, and no external storm can change that. You've rewired your brain to remain steady when everything else shakes. That's the power few possess. That's the mindset no one can give you. You earn it, you build it, and once it's built, you never have to fake strength again, because now you are it. A bulletproof mind is not an accident. It is not a gift. It is not something some are born with and others are not. It is the result of daily warfare within yourself. Not loud, not dramatic, but relentless. A quiet rewiring of how you think, how you feel, how you respond. It's built through thousands of unseen decisions where you choose strength over comfort, clarity over confusion, and action over hesitation. You don't become unbreakable in a single moment. You become unbreakable by refusing to break one moment at a time, over and over, until it's no longer something you do. It's who you are. This is the truth no one wants to hear. No one is coming to save you. No one is handing you the mindset you need. You either build it or you stay at the mercy of the world. You either rewire your instincts or you keep repeating the same emotional cycles, expecting life to suddenly reward you for effort you never finished. Nothing changes until you do. Not because you hate where you are, but because you've decided to never stay there again. You've decided that the version of you who bends, who breaks, who doubts, that version has expired. You've outgrown it. That's what this process is. The death of who you were and the birth of who you've decided to become. Not based on emotion, not based on circumstance, but based on the unshakable decision to rise. When you think like this, everything changes. Pain becomes data. Rejection becomes redirection. Pressure becomes the sharpening stone. You stop seeing obstacles as personal attacks and start seeing them as training. life stops happening to you. It starts happening for you, because every moment of resistance is now part of the build. Every moment of discomfort is now a signal that you are not slipping, but stepping. The rewiring is complete when you no longer ask, "How do I get through this?" and instead ask, "How do I grow through this?" That question unlocks the power that used to feel so far away. Because now power is no longer something you chase, it's something you live. Every choice becomes a vote for the person you're building. Every habit becomes a weapon for the war inside your own mind. Every day becomes a battlefield between the old programming and the new identity. And you don't flinch. You don't fold. You keep going. This is how you become untouchable. Not by being fearless, but by refusing to stay small. Not by being emotionless, but by never letting emotion override your mission. You are not here to play safe. You are not here to blend in. You are here to break patterns, defy expectations, and embody power that can't be shaken, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Rewired, remade, relentless. And now, nothing can take that from you because it wasn't given to you. You build it.